When the Pontiac GTO hit the market, it didn't just introduce a new car, it ushered in the muscle car era as we know it. From 1964 onward, Pontiac continuously refined its new muscle car icon, equipping it with larger engines, improved suspension, and upgraded brakes. As a result, its performance skyrocketed in just a few short years. However, that progress came at a price. The cost of the GTO had to rise to keep pace with inflation and to account for the newly integrated performance technology. While the GTO was positioned as a premium muscle car, Pontiac didn't want to alienate younger buyers who couldn't afford it. They aimed to offer a taste of GTO performance at a more affordable price. The result? The ultimate stripped-down Pontiac performance machine. A car that delivered 90% of the GTO's performance, but without the bells and whistles. And in certain cases, this model may have actually been a better choice than the GTO itself. This is the story of the ultra-rare 455 HO-equipped 1971 Pontiac GT-37. To put it into perspective, many enthusiasts have likely never even heard of the GT-37 because it was a relatively low-production model. Technically, the GT-37 was a trim package for the Pontiac T37, which was essentially a more stripped-down version of the Le Mans. Introduced in 1970 as an entry-level offering into the Pontiac lineup, cost-cutting was so extensive with the base model T37s that their starting price was just around $2,600, cheaper than a base model Chevelle, which had historically been GM's most affordable mid-sized car. By undercutting Chevy, Pontiac signaled it meant business. However, the base T37 was by no means a performance car. At $2,600, it came with an inline-six engine that could barely compete with a Pinto. At this level, it was strictly a utilitarian vehicle. But Pontiac's aggressive cost-cutting meant that buyers had access to an extensive options list, allowing them to transform their T37 into something much more formidable. For those who prioritize speed, there were plenty of upgrades to turn the humble T37 into a true budget-friendly bruiser. In 1970, the T37 came with 3 available V8 options, the Pontiac 350 and 2 versions of the Pontiac 400. The 350 produced a respectable 250 horsepower, while the 400 produced 370 horsepower. 400 came in 2 flavors, one with 265 horsepower and a high-performance version, cranking out 345 horsepower. This top-tier 400 put the T37 just 15 horsepower shy of the 455 cubic-inch GTO's 360 horsepower output that same year. Paired with the optional GT-37 package, the gap between the T-37 and the GTO narrowed even further. The GT-37 package transformed the base T-37, giving it a whole new identity. It included the option of 3 bold side stripe designs, which varied depending on the production period. The package also featured GT-37 badging on the rear fenders, grille, and deck lid, lending the car a more aggressive look. Standard on the GT-37 was a 3-speed manual transmission with a Hurst floor shifter. GT-37 equipped models also borrowed key performance elements from the GTO, including dual exhaust cutouts, the actual exhaust system from a GTO, hood pins, and a selection of stylish wheels that enhanced its muscle car credentials. Buyers could choose from subdued colors or opt for eye-catching shades like cardinal red and tropical lime. A rear deck spoiler was also available to add some extra flair. These styling upgrades ensured the GT-37 looked the part of a budget-friendly GTO alternative, while differentiating it from the base T-37 models with the inline six. And in 1971, the performance gap between the GT-37 and the GTO shrank even more. For 1971, the 350 Pontiac 5.8 and mid-range Pontiac 400 remained available, but the previous year's high-output 345 horsepower 400 was replaced with a 455 cubic inch V8 producing 325 horsepower. This put the GT-37 just 10 horsepower below the GTO's 455 HO engine. But here's where things get interesting. Pontiac allowed buyers to order the actual 335 horsepower HO 455 from the GTO in the GT-37. Surprisingly, only about 50 buyers took advantage of this option, rather than simply purchasing a GTO. Regardless, those who did ended up with one of the most powerful muscle cars available in 1971. With over 450 pound-feet of torque on tap, the 455 HO-equipped GT-37 was a serious performer. Given its minuscule production numbers, it also became one of the rarest muscle cars of the era. The standard transmission for the GT-37 remained the 3-speed manual, but buyers could opt for a 4-speed M20, M21, or M22 manual or a turbo 400 automatic. A safe T-track rear differential was available, along with performance-oriented gear ratios ranging from 3.55 to 4.33. Most 455-equipped GT-37s were ordered with the 4-speed manual, though a few left the factory with the automatic transmission. With a manual gearbox, the GT-37 could easily run low 14-second quarter-mile times, and the high-output cars could even dip into the high 13s. Standard GT-37 models came with 4-wheel drum brakes, though buyers could opt for power-assisted front disc brakes. While the GT-37 shared much of its powertrain with the GTO, its suspension was notably different. The GTO benefited from a more refined suspension setup, including rear sway bars and improved damping. In contrast, the GT-37 compensated for its lack of a rear sway bar with stiffer rear springs, which provided a harsher ride. While the GT-37 offered tremendous value once it was fully optioned with the larger engine, 4-speed transmission, and other upgrades, its price crept past $4,000, bringing it dangerously close to GTO territory and undermining its budget-friendly appeal. At lower trim levels, the 350-equipped 3-speed GT-37 was a fantastic value, but at the higher end, buyers had to decide whether saving a few $100s was worth it or if the prestigious GTO name was the better investment. Ultimately, the GTO's reputation swayed more buyers. In 1971, Pontiac sold about 10,000 GTOs, while GT-37 sales from 1970 through 1971 totaled just around 7,000 units before production ended. In 1972, Pontiac replaced the GT-37 with the Le Mans GT. This new model carried on the GT-37's spirit, delivering sporty styling and strong performance, but it leaned more into an upscale feel, rather than the raw, stripped-down nature of its predecessor. By the mid-1970s, even the Le Mans GT was overshadowed as the market shifted toward personal luxury cars over performance models. The writing was on the wall. Although its production run was brief, the Pontiac GT-37 stands as a testament to Pontiac's commitment to making performance accessible to all buyers, even those on a budget. Today, the GT-37, especially in its ultra-rare 455 horsepower configuration, is a highly sought-after collector's item. The GT-37 perfectly encapsulated the muscle car era. Bold, brash, and built for thrills. For many enthusiasts, it served as their gateway into the addictive world of high-performance driving. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever heard of the 455 GT-37, or if you have any personal stories about them. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out. Until next time, enthusiasts.